Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My challenge is to finish in 10 minutes a talk that I prepared to say in 20 minutes. And it's about dehumanization. Dehumanization is an extreme form of moral exclusion in which a group of people are excluded from the moral community, which leads to the feelings of unconnectedness with them, like they are completely different species. In 1994, more than 800,000 Rwandans, mainly Tutsis, were massacred in a genocide that lasted for 100 days. And at the core of the insurrection was the derogatory term cockroaches, a metaphor for acts of genocide. People crush cockroaches with their feet without any feelings of remorse. So 800,000 people were crushed easily, and among the murderers were clerics who were supposed to be men of God, but the key word is dehumanization. In 2013, unarmed peaceful protesters who were in a sit-in protesting against a military coup that removed the only democratically elected president in the history of their country were massacred. 2,500 of them were killed in a massacre, and the place was put ablaze, and many bodies were burned. And despite all this brutality, many people accepted that and were okay with it. What happened? They were okay with what happened because they were brainwashed by the media for over a year. The members of the targeted group were called sheep on TV and on radio for more than a year. And what do people do with sheep? They slaughter them and enjoy barbecuing them without any feelings of remorse. So killing 2,500 people and burning them up was easily accepted. And the key word again was dehumanization. Rats, lice, cockroaches, foxes, vultures, these are just some of the animals that Nazis used to deride and dehumanize Jews. They were widely used in their speeches, articles, books, newspapers, and posters. But as the Holocaust kept approaching, the dehumanization took another path, a different path. Jews were represented as a being incapable of human feeling, like demons. And demonization is a type of dehumanization. However, it is the most dangerous type, because still people can sympathize with animals, but not with demons. Never. Jews were subject to demonization, in which their capacity for sophisticated reasoning was perceived to coexist with a subhuman moral depravity. How would you feel towards someone who is extremely intelligent and extremely evil becoming your neighbor? You will fear him. You will pray for his demise. You won't feel safe until he disappears. Some of the killers of the Jews in Nazi Germany were devout Christians, but dehumanization made them numb. It is an anesthetic. Same exactly happened and is happening to Palestinians. They have been continuously called by the leaders of their occupiers the children of the darkness. Demonization. Subhumans. Human beasts who live by the law of the jungle. And this way, many people were made to accept mass murder of Palestinian children and pregnant women. It was okay for many people. Many people were made to accept ethnic cleansing and genocide. Through the dehumanization of the Muslims of Palestine, every disgraceful, evil abomination was made acceptable. Churches and mosques were bombed in Gaza because bombing places of worship became acceptable. Schools were bombed because bombing schools became acceptable. Every single university was bombed because bombing universities became acceptable. Every single hospital was bombed because bombing hospitals became acceptable. Starving people to death in the first man-made famine became acceptable. A famine that is not a result of drought, rather a result of locking people up in an open-air prison and then starving them to death. This is now acceptable by the civilized world. But Allah consoled us and told us, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا عَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ إِنَّمَا يُؤَخِّرُهُمْ لِيَوْمٍ تَشْخَصُ فِيهِ الْأَبْصَارُ مُهْطِعِينَ مُقْنِعِي رُؤُوسِهِمْ لَا يَرْتَدُّ إِلَيْهِمْ طَرْفُهُمْ وَأَفْئِدَتُهُمْ هَوَاءٌ. Do not ever think that Allah is oblivious of what the unjust are doing. He only defers them to a day when the sights glaze over, as they rush forward with their necks outstretched, their heads upraised, their eyes unblinking, and their hearts void. One may wonder, why would any people reach that level of evil? Is it the devil? I don't think so. It must be something worse than the devil. Because before Iblis became shaitan, a devil, there was no shaitan before the shaitan to make the shaitan become shaitan. There was something far more worse and far more dangerous than the devil. There was the ego, the source of greed and jealousy and racism. I am better than him. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. I am white and he is black. I am European and he is Asian. I am American and he is Arab. It's the same thing exactly. The very first sin was that in the history of mankind. It wasn't a fruit that was eaten from a tree, rather it was racism. And God blamed him in the Quran and told him, why didn't you prostrate yourself to the one that I created as I commanded you? He said, because I am better than him. Racism is the original sin, because it's the very first sin. It preceded the sin of Adam and Eve. And God expelled him from paradise, saying, get out from it, you cannot act as a racist here. So according to Islam, racism is the original sin, and racists have no place in paradise. And that is the concept which the world needs to believe in today. Dear brothers and sisters, we are here today to make the balance in this world. Because there are lots of cowards and criminals and racists and oppressors. So the world cannot be balanced except with the efforts of the opposite of those people, those creeps. The balance needs people who are brave and clean and honest and just. We came here to support our brothers and sisters in Palestine, not because supporting them is a good deed. No, because supporting them is an obligation. It's a shame that Palestinian children are dying of famine at the time when we have lamb and chicken on our tables. How can we eat that food if we don't send them what they can end their hunger with? Yeah, zakah is 2.5% of our cash savings. That's when there is no famine. 2.5%, and God left for you 97.5%. That's when there was no famine. If you double your zakah, you will be left with 95% of your riches. If you triple your zakah, you will be left with 92.5% of your riches. And this is how the companions of Prophet Muhammad understood the Quran. This is how Abu Bakr was able to donate all his possessions. This is how Umar ibn Khattab was able to donate half of his possessions. This is how Uthman ibn Affan was able to donate and finance a whole army that was leaving to fight the Roman Byzantines because they were oppressors, oppressing the Aryans and killing them like goats. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, يا أيها الذين آمنوا هل أدلكم على تجارة تنجيكم من عذاب أليم تؤمنون بالله ورسوله وتجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالكم وأنفسكم ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. O you who have attained faith, shall I inform you of a bargain that will save you from a painful punishment? That you believe in Allah and His Messenger and strive in the way of Allah with your wealth and yourselves. And Allah mentioned the wealth before the selves, before the lives. That is better for you if you only knew. This is a trade. Trade with Allah today with your money. And I will end here because it's time for the adhan, right?